Hi there, welcome to my channel. If you don't know me, my name's Alyssa. I'm an artist in Perth, Western Australia, and I'm so glad that you're here. In today's video, I'm really just wanting to focus on how I'm developing my overarching themes, because I'm thinking a lot about exhibiting my work. I've got a small exhibition coming up, not until November, but it has made me sort of think in terms of what themes are emerging and just looking at my process, because there's just different ways that people make bodies of work, and I really am only just emerging as an artist in a way, because I'm not established anywhere in a gallery or anything like that. So I'm very much trying to think about what's knitting my work together, and I think the way I'm approaching it is because I like to work from dreams and I like to work, from my intuition. I'm sort of going from allowing the images to sort of emerge, and then later on just seeing what theme is really wanting to come forth, which is really how I look at my paintings in a small way, as well as my process of working with paintings is seeing what images want to come forth and trying not to control that too much. So I'm sort of doing that in a macrocosm as well with all of my artworks together. And I have found some themes that have been really emerging for me, and that's the divine feminine, and I can see that's been something that's been consistent over years of me working with my art. So there sort of feels like that invitation to dive a little bit deeper into that idea. And I think that one quote, I think I might touch on it later on in the video, is just to treat images as sacred guests, but also to look, don't stop there, but to look past, what are these images pointing to? What sort of truth or what sort of overarching theme is the image pointing to? And so I guess the premise is that the images contain a wisdom that we can notice and we can learn from and we can absorb as well. So that quote is from C.S. Lewis. I'll write it on the screen so you can have it, but it's a very powerful quote. Also, what I've got in my hand, I just found this is from a canvas pad, and as you can see, it's A3 size. I just wanted to toy with the idea of boats, and I have this image in my mind that didn't actually come from a dream per se, of a queen and a queen making a journey. And so I'm going to tell you a little story that I found about that theme. At the moment I'm wanting to show you a few paintings as well that I'm working on, and I'm wanting to just have a couple of larger canvases and surfaces to work on, because I find that whether I've got an ADD brain, I think everyone has an ADD brain, but I find that it just keeps me fresh, and it just helps that energy to sort of flow, I guess, to have a few things on the go. It makes everything feel more vibrant and alive, and like there's things that I'm dialoguing with in a visual way all the time, if that makes sense. One other thing I wanted to share with you is this soul collage technique that I learnt at Dream School. So it's really just using collage as a way of engaging with symbols, and I'm going to show you them and show you how I've been using them, because I've really been using them almost as reference material for my paintings. So these have been great. So I'll show you these in more detail. I hope you enjoy, and leave a comment, like, subscribe, whatever. I'd love to hear from you, and I really hope you keep creating, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. So I just wanted to show you some collage work that I've been doing, and I learnt this technique from the course that I'm doing online in Jungian dream analysis, and they're called soul collage. And it's basically using prescribed sort of size, about sort of half A4 size, and you just are basically collaging images that you find from magazines and seeing what kind of emerges, and you come at them from different categories. So different parts of the personality, spirit guides, companion animals, archetypal figures. So they're sort of divided up into those categories, which I haven't really explored that aspect of it yet. But what I have explored is when you do the images, you sort of treat them as sacred guests in a way, and you create sort of like a dialogue around them. In other words, like I am the one, and then ... and then whatever sort of comes up. So these are just a few that I've done. So that obviously they don't have to be aesthetically anything. It's really good when you're feeling sort of like you're wanting to create something that's got a little bit of meaning, and for doing inner work, and you're not confident with your drawing ability or whatever to carry across that message or to carry across an idea. And they just have so much personality, and almost like the effect of a dreamlike experience as you're awake. So this one is interesting to me because boats and, you know, the theme of water has come up for me a lot, which has led to further explorations on that. So for me, this has just been a launching pad to explore other things. So I guess the reason why I wanted to show you these was because I've got a painting that I'm doing. Hopefully everything's in shot. I always seem to go out of shot, which is really frustrating if you're watching. So I don't know. Now this one came up. I love this image as a symbol or an archetype because goats are so firm on their feet and scale really high heights, and these goats here are just blanketed in this really warm fur. So it feels like they've got everything they need to deal with whatever comes their way. And I love the addition that it's a mother goat with a baby. Exploring this one as well, and so somehow these two images merged themselves, and I was wanting to create a painting on it, which I'll show you I don't know if that's all in shot. Yeah, so this is just the, I guess, initial drawing just for the idea, getting the idea down. The rough drawing, if you were, the rough draft, which often rough drafts turn out just as good, if not better, than the actual thing, I find. But just that idea, and she ended up being sort of like it's like a shepherd, but a goat keeper. I don't know what that would be called. I bet you there's a name for it. I know a shepherd as to sheep, but she reminds me of a shepherdess, but she's got goats. I don't know. I'm going to look that up if there's a name for a goat keeper. I've got no idea. Goateress. Anyway, so that's sort of the idea that I had. So it was based on these two cards that I got. And she's just lovely. Like she has this radiating personality on my card. So just a magazine cut out and just with different elements. And you can, as you do with working with dream images, you can work with all the images that have come up and what is kind of trying to express itself in this format, which is so interesting. So I've got a few others, and there's another one that I've got here, which is the shark. So I've photocopied a lot of pictures of sharks because this one was a really powerful dream about a shark that I had about a shark, and he was cut up in little bits and on this boat, and then the little bits were coming together again, including the teeth. And shark's such a powerful image, and I've found that they're so misunderstood. They're not actually, you know, wanting to be predators to us and kill us and eat us. So they're, number one, they're a very old animal. Like they're sort of feel to me very ancient, the shark. Like they're right down in the deep waters. They seem like an ancient image, and very, very, very associated with the deep unconscious and our instincts as well. And in the dream, those bits were trying to come back together, and I thought that was actually really hopeful. And it was scary, but it was hopeful in the dream. So I got this image out of a magazine which I loved, and so for some reason I'm wanting to sort of incorporate this idea of, I love the ruins. It reminds me of sort of like Atlantis or whatever in my painting when I do a painting, and it's got like the cosmos in the background. So there's a lot of beautiful images in here that really resonate, that feel so densely layered that I can kind of be exploring, and the meaning can come out as the painting progresses, hopefully. That's always the hope, that there's more in there than what you realise, that, you know, your conscious mind can only hold so much. So that's the reason why I've got sort of boats and sharks. There was one other thing that I wanted to show you, but I can't see it right now. Yeah, that was it. So I'm just noticing right now that there's a common denominator of music happening, which has been another thing that's I'm really interested in, playing the piano. And I got my mum and dad's piano, which is a lovely piano to play, and just that the way music is so healing. I've been trying to listen to records and things like that, and just music in general. So I do have a record player as well, so it's good, and it's informing my art. So I'm going to show you my paintings and show you where I'm at with different ones. So this painting was taken, I took another painting off the frame and re-stretched it with linen, which was quite a saga. I realised, you know, if I'm going to do that, I'm needing, you actually do need a tool. I got my husband to help me. You need a little bit of sort of strength to stretch it properly, to stretch the linen properly, especially because this is actually lined. It's actually probably meant to be curtain material. But I've just been really wanting to have a lot of canvases to work on and surfaces to work on, because I find I get stuck if I just have one thing. So, okay, so this one, the idea came to me after my dream, and I had this thought in my head that went, the girl who rode a shark, and honestly don't know where that came from. So I've Googled it, and I found that that was actually a story. There's like a book about women and girls doing amazing things, and one of them is, you know, I guess taming this shark and training it. And there's a lot of interesting things on YouTube that I found where people have actually befriended sharks and swam with them, and, you know, the shark recognizes them and different things like that. But I found that image, like, it really came to me very strongly. It kind of reminds me of, I don't know, something from Narnia, or, you know, just riding in the sky on a beast, and a bit like Narnia with Aslan, how they ride on him and they hold on to his mane. And shark has got a kind of similar vibe in many ways, but being a deep sea creature, I guess different associations. And anyway, that came forward. So I'm going to develop that, and obviously here, well, not, I guess it's not obvious, it's obvious to me, I was toying around with the idea of doing sort of a underwater landscape, and my main goal with this painting is just to, I really want it to be so bright and vibrant and colourful. And when you're working with ocean colours, sometimes you can just go with the blue and it becomes fairly monochromatic. So very early days. It's only a couple of, a couple of sessions working on this, and I'm going to keep going with it, and I'll show you the progress. This one is, I feel like she's finished, and I don't know what I'm going to call her. And I'll show you a little bit close up. I think she's finished. So lots of yummy kind of brush strokes. but I'm happy with the colours mainly, and I'm really happy with the way the halo turned out. There was a lot of things around this, I guess, with the return of the Divine Mother energy. Like, there really is that feminine aspect of God that's so missing from the way we understand God in our culture, and you can kind of see it in the way our culture is so patriarchal. So I really felt like, there's a real calling for us to engage with that idea of the Divine Mother that's connected with nature and connected with, our intuition as well, and nurturing and life-giving, but mainly connected with nature. I think the way we treat nature is fairly indicative of the culture that we live in. And, believing that the body is sacred as well as nature, that it's not just our brains and our reasoning that are to be heeded to, it's other things as well that are so important. It's probably an understatement. But yeah, I'm looking at her through the camera and I feel like it may need more work, but I'll just leave it for a little while. It's all a work in progress. And so the story of this one, I almost feel like we've got to get up on the chair and show you because it's on a table. There we go. There's my goats and my, I don't know, shepherdess / goatess. And I love this image, and the story behind this is tried to stretch canvas. My son helped me. This is just cotton duck canvas, so it's a lot thinner. And some way I think we stretched it too much because it was just buckling, and all of this was, I thought, if I don't take it off the stretcher bar, it's just the paint is going to form its own little wave and I won't be able to get it out. So my plan is now to get some board and mount it to that, which I love actually working on that firm surface on the board. And again, it's like the shark painting. It's only been a couple of sessions painting on it, and it's all very exciting when it's at this early stage. I like it. But yeah, so that's where I'm at with my 3 paintings, and I desperately kind of want to have another one because I want to do another painting with a boat in. I've got a image in my head that needs to go on a canvas at some point. So I just wanted to give you an update on the process of my shark painting, and I'm really happy with the colours. I have one of my cards that I'm using as a bit of a reference, and I'll tell you what I'm not happy with. I'm kind of not happy with this. It looks a little bit disjointed, but I'm trying to leave it alone for a little while and let it rest. The colour is a lot brighter actually than what it's showing up on screen, so that's that. But I did use, this is actually, it looks grey, but it's actually a very, very rich purpley colour. So I think I'm going to get down, some really nice brush strokes, and once I'm happy with the composition, I'll probably do a lot of glazing on this one actually. I think that'll look really nice, make it kind of, use the fluorescent paints and glaze. Anyway, so that's that one. I haven't done much more on this one, and it's got things on it which we don't want, but it's getting there. I'm kind of I think I'm just going to leave this one quite rough in the end because you know what, I just am really enjoying all of this business here. So it feels, I don't know, just it's letting the paint be paint in a way. So that's that one. It's so precious to be able to go on these little outings with Mum. We go to restaurants and things like that, and yeah, it's just lovely. We found a spot that was gorgeous, and it's more boats. I've been thinking a lot about boats lately, and I got to draw some boats. It was yeah, it was a really good trip. So I found this piece of canvas from a canvas pad that I had that was just marked up. I guess I'd used it as a palette, and I probably had a painting underneath. In fact, I did have a painting underneath, and I just loved it. It's like it's so lovely to work on a surface that has a history. You can see all those wonderful, wonderful splodges of colour. And I decided that I would explore the idea of the queen and the boat and the journey. And these are all sort of really archetypal ideas, like the idea of the queen, somebody who takes control of her or has agency really and means and is on embarking on a journey. And I did a little sketch on this theme in my scrappy journal, and I included like a foe, a sort of a creature that was coming up like a sea monster, witch kind of character, which is interesting to me because I did actually find a story that was about a witch and a queen, and the witch shapeshifts into the queen and basically takes her identity, which yeah, it was quite a fascinating story. But before I sort of tell you the story, just as in brief, the other thing I was thinking about was just the expressive brushstrokes with the waves. So just on a kind of purely aesthetic value, I really wanted to just get some really aesthetic, not aesthetic, really expressive brushstrokes happening. And I also found a reference of Hokusai's wave, similar to Hokusai's wave. It wasn't the actual the wave, the famous one, but just that sort of idea of the rolling sea with lots of movement and energy. So, but yeah, so the story goes: a king told his son Sigurd to marry another king's daughter from a far off land. And so he does marry her, and he eh, embarks on a journey back to his homeland because his father has deceased. So they're on a boat on the water with their 2-year-old son, journeying back to the fatherland. And there comes a witch, a really evil witch who has shape-shifting powers and captures the queen and sends her on a stone boat into the underworld to where her brother is, presumably because she wants the true queen to marry the brother from the underworld. And so she shapeshifts into the queen's what she looks like. So the husband can't tell the difference at first. And then as time goes on, the little child is so distressed because he knows that that's not his real mother, and the queen is acting really what's the word? I'd say disagreeable and spiteful and malignant, I guess those words. So there is suspicion because the little boy is just crying for his true mother. So the mother ends up come to their homeland, the fatherland, and the real queen, ends up escaping. But she has chains around her, and Sigurd, the king, breaks her chains with a sword. He hews the chains asunder using old-fashioned language. But it was a lot more involved than that. That's just, in a very sketchy format. Only because I think that yeah, this little picture that I'm doing probably doesn't illustrate that tale, but I kind of found it interesting, the idea of the shape-shifting foe that comes in. And I think in a symbolic sense, we probably all do have that shape-shifting witch inside of us that thinks that, like imposter syndrome. My mind sort of went to that, how we can have those sort of voices or, this idea in our heads, that we have our true identity stolen, I guess, or hidden away in the underworld, and there's sort of like a quest that you need to go on in order to reclaim your identity as the queen. Just some very, very basic thoughts. Probably seems a little bit left field, but it is my process. I do tend to find these symbols and these ideas that pop up, and sometimes, to be honest, I don't they often pop up in dreams, but honestly, it seems like a lot of things that I see in the real world, they sort of seem to, some images and ideas and symbols, and they seem to sort of speak louder to me, I guess, which is why I like to find a fairy tale or a story that grounds them in my mind and in my art. So this is my process, I guess, and it has made me think about the idea of really illustrating that, like the idea of that the witch taking somebody's identity is quite captivating and quite relatable, as I said before. But anyway, this has been kind of a fun painting to do. I'm feeling like I really just want to do a lot of explorative pictures, and once again just not worry too much how they turn out. And by the way, I love working on the canvas pads that you can get. Often they come in, you get like, I don't know, 10 sheets or whatever, and they're already primed, and they're lovely to work on. They're really lovely to work on, so I do recommend. And you know, a really nice size as well. A3 is a very good size to work on because you can get a bit of detail in there, but they're not overwhelming as well, especially if you're feeling a little bit like there's too much choice and too much. You can get a little bit overwhelmed with too many large pieces because they do take a lot longer to finish. I'm definitely keen to make a bigger painting on this and maybe put some more elements in. Um, Definitely keen to sort of think of the idea of the sea monster in it as well. So yeah, I guess this has been good. This will be a nice reference that I can look at and use on a larger piece. Here's my cat Bob, just wanting to say goodbye and thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.